following is an ABC Sports presentation. On ABC, the network of the Olympics.
This is the kind of beating a hand can take after bowling 40 games in 3 days. Take a look at the swollen and blistered thumb on the right hand of Teata Semiz, who since this past Wednesday has fought his way through a field of 128 professional bowlers to become the leader in this week's PBA tournament. Teata Semiz, the man to beat this afternoon on the Professional Bowlers Tour. Competition between the finest bowlers in the world. It's the Professional Bowlers Tour. This is an ABC Sports exclusive. Brought to you by Bic, the ballpoint pen that takes more punishment than you'd give it in a lifetime and still writes first time every time. By Firestone, the safe tire available at more than 60,000 Firestone safe tire centers from coast to coast. And by 101 Filter cigarettes, a silly millimeter longer than the 100s. It isn't much, but wait till you taste them. New 101 from Chesterfield. Live and in color from the Fair Lanes in Depew, New York. The ninth stop on the 1968 PBA Tour. It's the $45,000 Greater Buffalo PBA Open Championship. And hello again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Chris Schenkel. Nice to be in northern New York on a somewhat pleasant afternoon. And as I indicated, this is our ninth stop on our 1968 tour, a tour that totals some $800,000 in overall prize money. Today, the winner, $6,000. And you will see it all live and in color on this big afternoon on ABC Sports. Our PBT show will be followed by Wide World of Sports, which today has the Joe Frazier, Buster Mathis fight, along with the NCAA Indoor Track and Field Championships from Cobo Hall in Detroit, live and in color. Today, if one of the 5 bowlers, one of the 5 great professionals, can bowl a perfect 300 game, we at ABC will be most happy to present him with a check for $10,000. And the Lincoln Mercury division of the Ford Motor Company will present him with the exciting Cougar automobile. So there is a great deal of excitement, there always is, when Billy Waylew is around, because he loves Buffalo. It was here in 1959 that he won the All-Star, the National Championship, and Billy, I know everyone welcomed you back this week, too.
Well, thank you, Chris. It's always great to come back to Buffalo. It's one of my favorite cities. We had the basket full of snow again here this year.
Oh, no.
But the defending champion, Nelson Burton, got through it, and he's, of course, trying to win again. But the 5 fellows have been bowling all week very wonderfully well, and that's why they're here in the finals.
Okay, Billy, and we'd like for you to see the 5 men. In the number 5 position, we had a 22-year-old youngster from College Point, New York. For those of you in New York, the location of College Point is right near the White Stone Bridge, not too far from Manhattan itself. Bobby McMillian. And now the first match in the bracketing you see, he'll go against Big Therm Davis of Chicago, Illinois. And that winner will meet veteran Bob Strampe from Detroit, Michigan. And then the winner of that game will go to the number 2 man, the popular Nelson Burton, Jr. of St. Louis, Missouri. And waiting in the wings, the tournament leader to meet the winner of that game is the boy from River Edge, New Jersey, Teata Semiz. So, Billy, let's get a closer look at these 5 champions.
Right, Chris. First of all, from College Point, New York, a new player relatively on the tour, Bobby McMillian. From Chicago, Illinois, in his first time on our telecast, Therm Davis. From Detroit, Michigan, the former Masters champion, Bob Strampe. Airplane pilot and defending champion, Nelson Burton, Jr. From River Edge, New Jersey, the tournament leader, Teata Semiz.
So there they are, the finalists in the Greater Buffalo Open Championship with Teata Semiz, the man to beat this afternoon. We'll be back for the start of the action live and in color on the Professional Bowlers Tour.
And then head You should have seen his first wife.
Is that a bologna sandwich?
101, the new filter cigarette from Chesterfield. 1 millimeter longer than the hundreds.
1 millimeter longer? Ridiculous.
Is it really 1 millimeter longer?
Have you got a match? They must be kidding. 1 millimeter?
Why don't you step on the other foot while you're at it?
Well, how big is a millimeter? Oh, it's 1/25th of a... It's mainly short.
Can't even see it.
A silly millimeter longer, 101. A silly millimeter longer, 101.
Hey, how's it taste?
I haven't tried it yet. 1 silly millimeter. Who would have thought it? I like it.
You know, it's good. Actually, I'd like it even if it wasn't 1 millimeter longer.
I still think it's silly.
Only 1 millimeter longer than the hundreds. But wait till you taste it. It's one better.
You look, Bobby McMillian throwing another practice shot prior to the first match here at the Fairlanes in Depew, New York, a suburb of Buffalo. And this is 30-year-old Therm Davis, born in Oxford, Mississippi, but for the last 12 years has his residence in Chicago, Illinois. McMillian and Davis would like to win today because it would make them eligible for the $100,000 Firestone Tournament of Champions in Akron. Shooting first, Billy, will be Therm Davis. Off to a perfect start is Therm Davis, who's been a professional on the PBA Tour for 2 years, been bowling for only 7, and now 22-year-old Bobby McMillian.
Very slow, very deliberate player.
Tough break, leaving the 4-pin on the right lane. Bobby's been bowling for 5 years, has been a member of the PBA for 2 years. He won $1,700 in 2 tournaments late in '66, $2,200 in 4 more in '67 last year. And finished 5th in a field of 128 professional bowlers. Bobby McMillian marking with a spare, be waiting to shoot in the second frame, while his opponent Therm Davis, if you just joined us, opened with a strike. Exploding ball, getting a strike for Bobby McMillian. The first for the 22-year-old, now Therm Davis. And he has a double.
He's a very exciting player, Chris. The angle that he is using here on this pair, he evidently made a very calculated decision in the practice rounds, because throughout the week he played the lanes somewhat inside, about 11 or 12. Now he's at the extreme outside.
6 feet 4 inches tall, weighs about 220 pounds. And it's a 4-pin for Therm Davis on the left lane. There at the right of your screen in the turtleneck, reminds me of Grenoble, Billy. It's a great champion, Don Carter.
Right, on our telecast the last 2 weeks, and made a great run here. He just missed the finals by about 16 pins.
Cross lane shot for the 4-pin. Perfect. So it's a spare for Davis, giving him 49 through the second. And now McMillian with a strike up, shooting in the third frame. Another bombing shot. The double leads by 1 pin now.
And that's the shot that has worked so well here for the boys that were most successful. Very little hook, forward roll, around 11 or 12.
Bobby McMillian. Thus far this year, he finished 44th at Las Vegas and was 52nd at Toledo. He won his last 3 games on big scores of 233, 248, and then made 2 splits in his last game against Tommy Tuttle to win 218 to 200. A mark for McMillian. And here in Depew, New York, the action will continue live and in color on the Professional Bowlers Tour.
State Farm Mutual got to be the world's largest car insurer by offering drivers an unbeatable combination of low cost and anytime, anywhere claim service. A combination so attractive that on February 9, 1968, a significant milestone was passed. For on that day, the total number of cars insured by State Farm Mutual reached 10 million.
Whoopee.
After a brief celebration, State Farm enthusiastically set out to insure 11 million.
For your car and your home and your life. State Farm is all you need to know about insurance.
The very first match continues, all even, Therm Davis shooting. Beautifully stroked. So for Therm Davis in 4 frames, he has 3 strikes. 5th frame coming up. He'd like to double here.
He rolls a full roller, Chris. That is where the ball tracks between the fingers and the thumb, and actually what lets him play that angle. They break so sharply from out there that he can't throw very much hook.
It's a double for Davis of Chicago, Illinois. 6 foot 1 inch Bobby McMillian coming up on the right approach, working on a spare, trailing by 10 pins. He's had 3 4-pins this far in this initial game. He is the number 5 man after 40 games competition, going against the number 4 man, Therm Davis. The winner, of course, then will meet veteran Bob Strampe. So as you see, a spare in the 5th frame for McMillian. Now we're getting ready to shoot in the 6th. Trailing by 11. A little footwork.
Very deliberate player.
Live and in color, you're not only seeing the way the pins fall, but you're hearing them too. Now Therm Davis. If you're watching in color, you can see that he not only has on an orange shirt, but orange socks. Almost a dinner bucket on the left side, leaving the 2-4-5. The 8 did go out. Here's a 30-year-older who was 9th going into the final 8 games last night and won 6 of his last 8 games to gain the number 4 position. 2, 4, and 5.
Moves to the extreme left. He's coming in from the left corner to eliminate the chop.
Leads now by 8 pins, as you see, with the spare up, shooting in the 7th frame. Tough break for Therm Davis. The 4-9 on the left lane. And there are those 2 pins.
Chris, the finish that he had on that first ball, he wants on this second one. He's going to try to go to the left and slide the 4 into the 9.
So close. And the fans here greatly appreciated the fact that he went all out. And as a result of that open frame, it's McMillian, the leader, by 5 pins. And as you saw, McMillian came up very high, leaving the 4, 7, and the 9.
It's the same split with the addition of the 7 pin. However, it must be shot in the same manner. While it looks a little bit more difficult, it is the same. You have to hit the 4 pin first, slide it over into the 9, then the ball will take the 7.
So as a result of splits, we have back-to-back open frames on the part of Davis and McMillian. McMillian's open in the 7th frame now puts him behind by 7 pins. As you see, McMillian has one sanctioned 300 game, only 22 years old. Good way to come back for Bobby McMillian with a booming strike. We'll be back with the balance of the first match of the Greater Buffalo Open Championship in just a minute.
Make Firestone your headquarters this year for lawn food, lawn equipment, and garden supplies. Firestone has everything you need. Here's a tremendous buy on Imperial Lawn Food, a premium 20-10-5 formula designed to feed your lawn gradually for months without burning when used according to directions. It's a tremendous bargain at just $1.99 a bag at most Firestone dealers and stores. 2-bag limit at this low price. Additional bags, $2.99 each. And to spread your lawn food, another great low-priced special. This 20-inch spreader, yours at most Firestone dealers and stores for only $10.88. And no one has a bigger selection of quality-built lawnmowers than Firestone. Check the low prices on a complete line from safety power mowers, rotary or reel types, to 4-speed rider mowers. So make Firestone your headquarters this year for lawn food, lawn equipment, and garden supplies. Check phone book for nearest address.
We're final stages of the first match, live and in color from Depew, New York. Therm Davis of Chicago leads by 7. And that won't hurt him.
Rolled it very well. Of course, the likelihood when they don't strike today is a 4-pin or a 4-9 because they're playing such a tight angle and the lanes break so sharply. If they're a little bit inside their target or a little bit slow, the 4-pin or the 4-9 is very likely.
Going for a double. High.
Great break.
Avoiding a split. So now he will try to knock down the 3-pin on the left lane.
That's the real treachery of that outside angle, Chris. When the track is breaking so sharply and you catch it a little bit too soon, you're going to go high or even over to the Brooklyn side.
Now Davis's opponent, Bobby McMillian, College Point, New York. Trailing by 7 pins, as you see, shooting the 9th frame. He can double here. Four-pin. Bobby McMillian, 22-year-old bachelor, loves the Professional Bowlers Tour.
Really does, and gaily bedecked in green, fitting for St. Patrick's Day tomorrow.
So it's a spare in the 9th frame for this man, McMillian. Still trailing by 7, shooting in the 10th. The winner will meet veteran Bob Strampe.
Wants a double very badly here because you can't always figure on the other man opening.
176 through the ninth with a strike up. This is Therm Davis and Bobby McMillian. First match.
He's had great success on the left lane. He has struck on it 4 out of 5 times. Really needs one now.
And he was down on both knees, hoping for that one. And as a result of the double, regains the lead by the narrow margin of 3 pins.
He checked it to him with that one, Chris. Provided he gets 8 pins on this ball, he would need 8 on this one to force Davis to double.
And he gets just 8 pins. On the left lane, Bobby McMillian. And now Therm Davis. 204 for McMillian. Therm Davis working on a spare, trailing by 1.
Chris, that shows a lot of class there. Needing those strikes under pressure, playing that cliff-hanging angle, and to roll it that beautifully.
Therm's wife, Beverly, is watching in person here in Depew, New York, along with their 4-year-old son. And they'll be watching for a strike here. I should be saying they'll be hoping for one here. Gets a good roll. And gets the strike.
Chris, you see that 10 pin go out of there? Good roll on that ball.
Here it is again. Slow motion.
Give me this one, honey.
What excitement. Last week, the winner of the Miller High Life Open did it by a pin.
Well, he's got a great release, Chris. That follow through there, as you see the release. There it is.
One more.
And as the fans were cheering for him, wishing for one more, he did just that. It's a 2-13 for Therm Davis compared to Bobby McMillian's 204. So Davis is the winner by 9 pins. There is the winner. Therm Davis moves a step closer to the first prize of $6,000 as he faces Bob Strampe from Detroit, Michigan. We'll see the start of that action in just a moment.
This is Antonio Santaella. Locked in the heel of his boot, a big pen. No matter how you punish it, a Bic ballpoint pen writes first time, every time. And here's why. Bic's textured diamide ball is the hardest metal made, precision fitted into a solid brass nose cone. Bic medium point, 19 cents. Now save extra money with this Bic 6-pack for home and office, only 99 cents.
The hand of a great champion, all-star champion, Masters champion, PBA national titleist, Bob Strampe, 37-year-old from Detroit, Michigan. He finished 3rd in the tournament, and as a result of Therm Davis defeating Bobby McMillian 213 to 204 in the first match, Strampe now faces Davis. So the 3-time All-American opens with a strike. And now Therm Davis looking for his first PBA championship, which would automatically qualify him for the Firestone Tournament of Champions in 2 weeks. pen on the right lane, Therm Davis. This year, Therm finished 12th in the Cougar Open at Kansas City and was 27th at Tampa. Last year, he was 10th in Mobile and 10th right here in the Fairlanes.
Been improving every week, Chris, which shows a lot of application.
Which in turn means a great deal of hard work, Billy.
There's no way you can get there without it, Chris. There's no substitute for practice.
The hands and the body take quite a beating.
Got to take good care of your body.
So in the second frame, Therm Davis from Chicago, Illinois, has a strike. Following a spare. Now Bob Strampe can double, shooting in the second.
Going to see a little different type shot out of Bob Strampe, standing to the extreme left. He's an exponent more of the spin shot. He hooks it a little bit more from the inside. There you see the ball spinning back.
2 in a row. Bob Strampe.
And Chris, the value of that spin, it lets him play a little hook, but he doesn't get his break until the last 10 feet or so. When the ball is rolling from the inside like that, it starts its break too soon and is much harder to control.
Behind Strampe, Billy Hardwick, who finished 6th as the alternate in this championship. Right in the middle, leaving the 5-pin on the left lane.
The solid 5. Needed one more rev.
All-time leading money winners, headed by Dick Weber's $265,140. Strampe is in 9th, with nearly $130,000 in his career. So with a spare in the third, his opponent Therm Davis now shoots in the third with a strike up. The 2, 4, 5, and 7 on the left lane.
Chris, we often talk about the 2-4-5 or even the 2-4-5-8, the basket being a very difficult spare. Now this is just about twice as difficult. You see, you have the 2-4-5, but also with the 7-pin for a kicker, you hit light enough to catch that 5 and make sure you don't chop, and you can leave the 7. Then when you go through, you can chop. Covered it beautifully on the left.
Therm Davis shooting in the fourth now with a spare up.
I think if I had to pick one spare that I would not like to shoot if my life depended on it, it would be that one, the 2-4-5 and the 7. So many ways that you can miss it, and there are only 2 ways that you can make it.
All right, Billy. As you saw, came up high on the head pin, leaving the 3 and the 10.
Chris, we're seeing now the problems that can happen to a bowler when he's playing an extreme off angle from what the rest of the field has been playing. You're a little short and the ball goes left. You reach out a little too much and it goes right.
So it's an open frame, failing to convert that spare for Therm Davis, meeting Bob Strampe, who leads by 22. More of the second match coming up on the Professional Bowlers Tour.
For a cold, cold one, get the cold, cold one. Miller High Life beer, now in champagne golden can.
Now it's cold, bold Miller High Life in champagne golden cans.
For a cold, cold one, get the cold, cold one. Miller High Life beer, now in champagne golden cans.
Strampe. He is working on a spare. Spinning in, but failing to carry the 10-pin on the right. Bob Strampe was 6 sanctioned 300 games. Billy, how about you? How many sanctioned 300 games?
5, Chris.
Cross lane shot now for the 10-pin. So the 37-year-old veteran marks with a spare in the 4th. He'll be shooting in the 5th. His lead is 21 pins. If you just joined us in the first match between the number 5 finisher in the tournament, Bobby McMillian, and Therm Davis, Davis won it by 9 pins, 213 to 204.
You see feet close together, left foot a little forward, right foot back.
Gets a wonderful break on the left lane. Strike in the 5th. Now, Therm Davis. Let's see if he can rebound. You see he has 67 through the 4th, an open frame, failing to convert a spare, the 310. And now, shooting in the 5th. Didn't get up there. The 2 and the sleeper 8.
You see here, make a little gesture with his hand, then he felt like he came over the top of that one too much. That's something you can't do with a full roller. It doesn't get any forward roll at all then. That's always a tough spare, Chris.
Therm Davis trailing by 21 pins. This is the second match. The winner will meet Nelson Burton Jr. of St. Louis. And then the winner of that match will meet the tournament leader, Teata Semiz of River Edge, New Jersey. The 3, the 6, the 7, and the 10.
Somewhat similar to the baby split. While it's much wider, you still must hit the 3 on the right in the same manner. Must hit the 3-pin on the right-hand side. A little more exacting than when you make the baby split because the ball will bounce off and get the 10. This time the 3-pin must be hit perfectly on the right to go over and get the 7. Too full.
So it is 2 open frames now for Therm Davis in his second match, as he's bowling Bob Strampe, who leads by 36 with a strike up, shooting in the 6th frame. Applying the pressure. Some of these bowlers have difficulties from time to time, and this is what Bob said about his difficulties in recent months.
I've had a great problem this year with my bowling. It's been in my hand position. I start with the ball in a proper position, but as I let my arm come down, I let my thumb fall into the inside of me towards my leg, which creates an improper release of the ball and an improper roll, which is not conducive to good scoring.
Well, obviously, he didn't have that problem there.
All right, Chris. He got to the line a little ahead of that ball, but he was able to shut the swing off and keep from pulling it left.
3 in a row for Strampe, applying the pressure, now leading by 56 pins.
And you don't want to give Strampe a lead like that because he's a very clutchy performer and he's not going to beat himself.
Nice comeback by Therm Davis of Chicago following his second open frame, a strike in the 7th. He'll now be shooting in the 8th. Next week it'll be the Ebonite Gold Cup $60,000 tournament at the Echo Lanes in Mountainside, New Jersey. Defending champion Sammy Baca. $8,000 first prize next week. Gets a little help, leaving the 4-7 on the left lane. And then our schedule in two weeks. It'll be the $40,000 New Orleans Lions Club Open at Pelican Lanes in New Orleans, to be followed then in Akron by the $100,000 Firestone Tournament of Champions. Therm Davis of Chicago with a spare. We'll be back with the balance of this second match following this message.
Mercury's got it. That fine car touch.
This new Mercury Brome's got it. The pure classic look, the elegance, the fine car touch, inspired by Lincoln Continental.
Mercury's got it. That fine car touch.
This sleek new Mercury Monterey's got it. The surging power, the feel. The finest, quietest ride this side of the Lincoln Continental.
Mercury's got it. That fine car touch.
This Mercury Colony Park's got it. Dual action tailgate, gleaming yacht deck finish. If Lincoln Continental made a station wagon, this would be it.
Mercury's got that fine car touch.
Lincoln Mercury. Better idea cars from the makers of Lincoln Continental.
Back again at the Fair Lanes in Depew, New York, a suburb of Buffalo, the Greater Buffalo Open, and this is Bob Strampe leading by 56 pins, looking for a four-bagger. This is the 8th frame stroke. 4 in a row. This is a man who has 6 sanctioned 300 games. And Billy, what was the high game during this tournament?
The high game this week, Chris, was by Tommy Tuttle. He had a 299, leaving the 4-pin on his 12th ball, which gives me an opportunity to mention we had a 300 game last week at the Miller's Open in Milwaukee. It was by Ernie Schlegel, and he gets a Miller's beer for a year.
You say for a year?
For 1 year.
My heavens. Let's watch Bob Strampe's approach in slow motion.
There, as he puts the ball into motion, you see the feet and the arm working together. Now, right at this point, going into the leverage position, you'll see that the hand goes slightly to the right. And in that position, he didn't get the desired lift on the ball that he would normally get. The ball didn't finish strongly into the pins.
And he failed to convert the 8-10 on the left lane, so he has an open frame 204, or rather 204 through the 9th. Davis working on a spare. And it's a strike for Davis in the 9th. The winner of this game will meet Nelson Burton, Jr. And we hope your color set is properly adjusted. You see Nelson, he is all lemon in color.
And gaily bedecked in that lemon yellow color, and the possessor of an airplane and flying on the tour now might call him Yellow Bird.
Of the 128 who started this tournament, we'd like to show you the top 16. Bobby McMillian, who was defeated by this man, Therm Davis, in the first match, finished 5th. The alternate, Billy Hardwick, with $1,450. Tommy Tuttle with $1,300.
In 8th place, former winner here, Bill Allen from Orlando, Florida. The qualifying leader and our statistician, Harry Smith.
We can put a touch on him with $1,150.
In 10th place, Larry Festa from Astoria, New York, got $1,100.
Dick Ritker finished 11th in this tournament.
Another great player from the East, Muncie, New York, Ralph Engen, got $1,000.
And Ski Koremski finished 13th, $950.
14th, the great Dick Weber, sneaking into those finals again. Great performance, 14th place, $900.
And in 15th from Kokomo, Don Johnson.
And another left-hander, Don Helling, from St. Louis, got $800.
So those fellows can at least pay the rent. Here's a man that's going to have more than enough for the normal everyday living expenses, Mr. Bob Strampe, who is shooting for the top prize of $6,000. He has this game because Therm Davis fired a 172. Bob leaving the 4-pin on the right lane. So it'll be Strampe that'll go against Nelson Burton Jr., and the winner of that game will go to the finals against Teata Semiz. And now, if Bob can cover the 4-pin, he will have shot a 224 to Therm Davis's 172. There it is, a big 224 and a handshake from the loser, Therm Davis, who did win his first game as we look at Nelson Burton. So Bob Strampe now moves up to meet this young man in the third round of the $45,000 Greater Buffalo Open Championship live and in color. You're watching the Professional Bowlers Tour.
Dutch Master Cigars presents Stump the Masters, the exciting panel show starring the men every cigar smoker loves, the Dutch Master. Here's Barbara with our first guest. Okay, viewers and panel, it's up to you to figure out why our guests are so happy.
Well, I'd be happy, too, if I had a lovely girl like Barbara on my arm.
I would say that you are from a warm and sunny clime, right?
Don't look like a penguin, do I?
Tobacco grows where it's warm and sunny, huh?
That's close enough. Our guest is a tobacco grower.
We are so happy because my tobacco was good enough for the Dutch Master cigars.
Of course you're happy, because we buy only the milder, better tobacco, you know.
Where do you guys get your hair done?
When you're ready for a better cigar, step up to milder Dutch Masters.
They don't call us masters for nothing.
As you see, with Bob Strampe defeating Therm Davis, 224 to 172, he moves up against Nelson Burton Jr. So Strampe winning his first game, he assured himself of at least $2,000 in this $45,000 tournament. And the winner of this will be assured of at least $3,000, but an opportunity to gain the top spot and $6 grand. $10 for Bob Strampe, 5'10", 160 pounds. His opponent about 5'11" and 145 pounds.
There we see he moves to the extreme left on the approach, again to get that cross-lane angle.
A spare for Bob Strampe in the third game, live and in color from Depew, New York. And now Nelson Burton, who likes it in Buffalo. Billy?
Really, Chris, he has to have the finest record of all the performers here over the years at the Buffalo Open. The last 3 years he's been first, second, and third.
And at the last moment gets a break in the first frame. A strike for Nelson Burton Jr., 25 years old, and certainly has one of the great names in bowling. He's the son of Nellie Burton, the veteran bowling Hall of Famer from St. Louis. Came on the tour in 1964. Didn't get all the help he needed. Did take out the 5-pin, but the 2-pin failed to go down. So Nelson Burton Jr. now will try to mark with a spare.
Got a wonderful shot, Chris. He has it under control at all times. He can adjust to almost any type of bowling condition, can play in or out, and here he's playing pretty well right down the track.
Two professional bowlers, both using gloves on their right hand. Here's Bob Strampe working on a spare, shooting in the second frame. That was a Strampe strike in the second. He's the father of 4 children, and when he found last night that he had moved into the number 3 spot in the finals, called his wife in Detroit and said, "Turn on the tube tomorrow."
So you know she's watching today.
And she, along with all of you, saw that Bob did not carry the 4-pin on the left lane.
Don Carter watches, Billy Hardwick looks on, Gene Rhoda, Johnny Gunther.
A lot of the boys staying over this week, Chris, since we don't have too far a drive to Mountainside, New Jersey.
So it's a spare for Strampe. In the third, Burton, as you see, opened with a strike, marked with a spare in the second, now shooting in the third. He's had a good year. 8th at Phoenix, 10th at Denver, 9th in the Cougar Open, 9th at Tampa, and 8th at Toledo, 17th in Milwaukee. And there is Mrs. Nelson Burton, Jr., Louise or Sissy. Burton, the 1967 Greater Buffalo Open champion. Don't forget, following Professional Bowlers Tour, ABC's Wide World of Sports, a heavyweight fight. A championship recognized in 5 states. Buster Mathis and Joe Frazier, and the NCAA Indoor Track and Field Championships. Champion at work, Nelson Burton takes a 10-pin lead as we'll be back here at the $45,000 Greater Buffalo Open Championship in just a moment.
Retire and travel. See Spain. Settle down on a tropical beach. Live on a shoestring. Before you start believing those posters, you'd better do some hard thinking about your day in and day out living expenses. A John Hancock man can show you what it costs to retire. He'll sit down with you and figure out what you'll need and what you won't need. He'll show you how a good life insurance plan can be a good retirement plan, too. It could be a new kind of plan in which the dividends are plowed back in to pay for an expanded amount of insurance. It could be something else. But if anybody in this life insurance business can design the right plan for you, it's probably us.
John Hancock, huh?
Heading toward the halfway point of the third game in our live and color coverage of the Greater Buffalo Open. This is Bob Strampe, trailing by 10 pins. He marked with a spare in the third, now shooting in the fourth. Big strike.
That was a super shot, Chris. He had real great loft on that shot and kept it right in the track.
Behind Nelson Burton and Bob Strampe, Mr. and Mrs. John Cirillo, the proprietors here and hosts, who have had this tournament on the PBA Tour for 4 consecutive years and successfully promoted.
Brought a band in the last 2 nights. The boys really had a wonderful time.
And Bob Strampe doubles now, keeping this match very, very close. 2 PBA champions are going at each other in the third game. If you just joined us in the first match, Therm Davis defeated Bobby McMillian 213 to 204, and Strampe down Davis 224 to 172. All but the 7-pin, and Nelson Burton was working on a double.
It's one of the toughest breaks in bowling, Chris, when you're on a strike or a string of strikes. Perfect execution, solid hit like that, and you leave that solid 7. It makes your heart thump a little bit harder.
Spare for Nelson Burton. He trails by only 1 pin. Now we go into the 6th frame.
And to our viewers at home, while we talk about the strikes, don't forget to make those spares. Do you realize if you make 1 more spare per game, you can increase your average 10 pins? Shakes his head a little bit there, Chris, because you can't hit the pocket more solidly than he has hit it the last 2 shots, and did not get a strike on either. Rolling the ball just a little bit too strongly right now.
Took care of the 4-7 in the left lane, Nelson Burton, Jr. You talk about making an additional spare. I'm sure Mrs. Lyndon B. Johnson bowls often. The White House lanes tries that almost every day.
It was wonderful to see those shots on the front page. We're very encouraged about that and hope that the Prez will get behind the bowling game a little bit more.
Bob Strampe from Detroit, Michigan, comes through with 3 in a row and takes a 13-pin lead, and his opponent knows it.
Well, that's the exciting thing, too, about the game of bowling, Chris, because, again, we have no defense. You can't stop Strampe. You just got to hope that you can get enough strikes to overcome what he's doing. Reading Nelson Burton's mind.
He's striking like that 4 in a row. Leads now by 23. Here is Nelson Burton, Jr., who has proven to us that he can accept pressure. A winner. And he gets a 10-pin on the right lane.
Watching 2 great champions at work, Chris. Every ball but one through 7 frames has been in the pocket. This is the mark of a professional. Great accuracy.
25 years old, young man that flies a Beach Bonanza.
And that's the interesting story this week. Marooned in Chicago, missing a connection in St. Louis to get here in time. They wound up in Toronto, and the authorities were not going to let them out because of the weather conditions. He convinced them to let him charter a small plane, being a licensed pilot, and arrived here at the Fairlanes 20 minutes before his starting time. That's a great story in itself.
Right.
That snow was kind of bad on Tuesday. I drove through a Canadian blizzard, and it was so deep out there they had to jack up the cows to milk them.
Now a 4-pin for Nelson Burton on the left lane.
Still in that pocket.
Mrs. Cerullo in the front, and behind her, this man's wife.
The interesting thing now, Chris, we're getting late. That's in his 8th frame, Strampe with a 25-pin lead. As we mentioned earlier, Strampe doesn't beat himself, so Nelson has got to hope to start striking.
So it's a spare for Nelson Burton, and we hope you'll agree that it is a comfortable way to spend an afternoon watching live competition among the finest professional bowlers in the world. We'll be back in Depew, New York, in a minute.
Save now during Firestone's big White Wall tire sale. Get Firestone White Wall tires at Black Wall tire prices. White Wall tires that add a smart new look to any car. It's the famous Firestone Deluxe Champion, the safe tire that comes on America's finest 1968 cars. During Firestone's big White Wall tire sale, you can save $3.50 to $5.50 a tire depending on size. Yes, you can save as much as $22 on a complete set. And there's a big selection in sizes, from compacts to the biggest cars. Save now during Firestone's Deluxe Champion White Wall tire sale. No money down, months to pay. Buy one or buy a set, but buy now while quantities last. Hurry and save now at any participating Firestone dealer or store from coast to coast. Firestone, the safe tire.
This is Bob Strampe. 4 strikes in a row against Nelson Burton, and he leads him by 25 pins, shooting in the 8th frame. Five in a row for Bob Strampe. This was the man that saw a 300 game in last year's Firestone Tournament of Champions, Billy, when we were sidelined. Do you recall that incident?
Oh, really?
Well, I know that Mr. Earl Hathaway, president of the Firestone Tire and Rubber Company, will welcome us back this year.
Looking forward to being out there.
April 6th is our telecast of that $100,000 tournament. Bob Strampe has 6 strikes in a row.
Katie bar the door.
And now Nelson Burton, Jr. goes to work while Bob rests. 45-pin lead by Strampe. Burton with a spare up, shooting in the 9th. The winner of this match will meet Teata Semiz, the tournament leader.
Turning point came when he left that solid 7 on the double, because that might have kept him striking. You see, behind by 45 now. He can only shoot 225. If Bob Strampe opens in the 10th, he would still have 230 something.
And on the left lane, Nelson Burton continues to have a few problems, this time leaving the head pin and the 2 pin. There they are. Wide World follows this show today, then tomorrow, 2 Eastern Time. Jack Twyman and I will be in San Francisco to bring you the San Francisco-New York Knickerbocker basketball game live and in color, followed by American Sportsman. A 4-pin. Nelson Burton finishing with a 204 against Bob Strampe. Bob Strampe shooting in the 10th frame. And it's a 10-pin for Bob, the winner. So Bob now is assured at least of $3,000 because he goes into the final match against the tournament leader. And the winner of the championship gets $6,000, the loser $3,000. Nelson Burton getting $2,000 today. Therm Davis, $1,800. Bobby McMillian, $1,600. Nelson Burton congratulating the winner, Bob Strampe, here in Depew, New York at the Fair Lanes. Standing room only crowd.
Been great crowds all week, Chris. They support the tournament very well here.
A big booming 249, and as you see, a victor by 45 pins. So the story of the $45,000 Greater Buffalo Open Championship is almost history. Bob Strampe gets set to meet Teata Semiz from River Edge, New Jersey. At stake, the championship and $6,000. We'll be back in a moment. 1968 is an Olympic year, and we'd like you to join other Americans in supporting our United States team at the Summer Games in Mexico City, October 12th to the 27th. Now, additional funds are needed this year for the training required to condition our athletes for the mile-high competition against other countries of the world. A $2 donation will bring you a red, white, and blue embroidered booster patch for your shirt or jacket. For $10, you'll receive a gold embossed contributor plaque with a replica of an Olympic gold medal. Incidentally, all donations are tax deductible. So indicate your choice and mail your check to the United States Olympic Committee, Box 1300, Grand Central Station, New York, New York, zip code 10017. So here at the Fair Lanes, Depew, New York, the championship match is about to unfold. Teata Semiz, the tournament leader, will go against Bob Strampe, who has 2 victories, and as a result is in the finals. And Billy, very often we are asked about the approaches, the type of approach that these professionals use as they're out here on the tour.
Right, Chris. And in traveling around the country throughout the tournaments, we're often asked many of the questions about the basic fundamentals. I think the basic fundamental is the approach, the number 1 basic fundamental. They ask me, what are the most important number of steps? I think about 90% of the players would use the 4-step approach. However, about the other 10% would use the 5-step approach, and there's very little difference, really. And we would, at this point, like to take a little look at Nelson Burton in slow motion and talk about the basic approaches and see the exponent here of one of the fine and smoothest approaches in the bowling game. In the 5-step approach, there is a slight hesitation on the first step. That actually puts you in the position of a 4-step bowler. And there you see, hesitating slightly on the first step, I mean with the ball. At this point, then in the position of a four-step bowler. That is where the push away and the first step happen at the same time. And let's watch that. As he is taking his second step, which would be the first in a four-step approach, you see the push away and the step happening at the same time. He is then in what we call the pendulum swing position. This push away happening at the same time starts the ball and body in motion. On the third step, the weight of that ball swinging back, there you see the ball is back, the arm fully extended from the shoulder. Now he's ready for the triggered position, and that is where you really get the leverage. As the swing starts downward, the right foot is extended. Maintaining that low knee bend, bent forward slightly at the waist, he keeps that slide under him and lets the body and the arm swing pull upward to give him that forward roll on the ball.
Well, tell me now, Professor Welu, which is the most important step?
I think in the four-step approach, the first step is the most important. In the five-step, the second step is the most important, because that's when ball and foot happen together.
And the finish?
Well, you've got to keep that leg under you, because if you don't, your swing's going to go inside your target line.
Okay, Billy, thank you very, very much. And here at the Fairlanes in Depew, New York, we're ready for the championship match between Bob Strampe and Teata Semiz. The start of that action coming up on the Professional Bowlers Tour.
An untuned car is looking for trouble, and sometimes it finds it. This is a demonstration, a test by Champion Spark Plug Company to measure the passing power of cars with old worn spark plugs and untuned engines. As each car starts to pass the test vehicle, the throttle is automatically opened wide. Will the car get back in lane before reaching the barrier? Not this time. Now the same car gets a Champion tune-up. Its worn spark plugs, a major cause of power loss, are replaced by a new set of Champions. Other tune-up items are added as needed. Now the test is repeated. This time the car easily gets back in lane. With all cars tested, tuned cars got back an average of 7.5 car lengths faster. Get a Champion tune-up now, and every 10,000 miles, because an untuned car is trouble.
Immediately following the Professional Bowlers Tour, you'll see ABC's Wide World of Sports color coverage of the Joe Frazier-Buster Mathis fight from Madison Square Garden, New York City. And also in color from Detroit, the NCAA Indoor Track and Field Championships. This final major competition of the 1968 indoor season will feature world record holders Jim Ryan, Dave Patrick, pole vault record holders Bob Segrin and Paul Wilson. Remember, it's Frazier, Buster Mathis heavyweight fight, along with live coverage of the NCAA Indoor Track and Field Championships, next on ABC's Wide World of Sports over most of these stations. And speaking of championships, this is it. It is the final game. We're $6,000 to the winner. The tournament leader leads off. Teata Semiz, River Edge, New Jersey, 34 years old. This is the first year that Teata has bowled full-time on the tour.
Wow. Got a lot of hitting power, Chris.
He won the seeded #1 position on the very last game here when he defeated Nelson Burton 246 to 217. He needs a win here today to be eligible for the Firestone Tournament of Champions. This man is already eligible. Bob Strampe coming right back with a strike, his 16th as he starts his third match here today. He got 7 in his victory over Davis, 224 to 172. He got 8 as he rolled 249 against Nelson Burton's 204. A double. 3 strokes, 3 strikes to Strampe, won by this man, Teata Semiz. Just 2 years ago, on March 25th, he astounded the bowling world when he came up with a 3-game count of 867 on games of 299, 268, and 300.
In league play.
In the pocket. each professional with a double. Teata has long been considered one of the very best professional bowlers on the East Coast. There have been many, like the late Junie McMahon, Luke Campy,
Lindy Farragalley. Chris, even though his thumb has, been paining him all week, he's getting out of that ball pretty clean.
Yeah, and that right thumb is swollen, much larger than the left thumb. Bob Strampe, who shows wear and tear on his thumb, looking for 3 in a row. 6 strokes, 6 strikes here in Depew, New York. So we have things working here now. Everything perfect up to this point. As Strampe goes into the 4th frame.
That's what you call getting out of the gate pretty good.
Wow. Still all perfect. And I know my friends, Mr. and Mrs. Junie McMahon, would like for me to correct a statement I made earlier. I fortunately said the late Junie McMahon. He is very much watching this particular action, and he was a man when bowling could really put together the strikes. 3 in a row for Semiz. Teata, like you, could not understand why the 8-pin didn't go down. Slow motion reaction.
Well, at this point, he knows that he has rolled it well. He's hit his spot. And there you see the sickness. When you throw a ball that perfectly, you just can't believe it when a solid 8-pin stands.
But remaining cool and collected, marks with a spare in the 4th frame. Remember, he is the tournament leader. His opponent, wiping his brow, Bob Strampe, has 4 strikes in a row.
Maybe we'll see 300 here today, Chris.
Well, it's worth $10,000 from ABC, plus a Cougar from the Lincoln Mercury division, Ford Motor Company. Frames, 4 strikes and a spare for Semiz, 4 frames, all strikes by Strampe. Now shooting in the 5th. A 4-pin for Strampe.
He nodded his head. I'm sure that he felt that it was going high, not that he knew he would leave the 4, but he was just a fraction inside of his target line, and he got a very good roll on that ball.
For Strampe, as you see, is spare in the 5th. He'll now be moving to his left and will be shooting in the 6th. He has a 10-pin lead on Teata Semiz. And now Semiz with a strike up, shooting it in the 6th.
A whale of a battle, Chris. You can't ask for a finer one than this.
The 5-7.
Chris, that's caused by the ball going light into the pocket and not having the strong finish to it. Sometimes a pin will come off the wall and get either the 5 or the 7, sometimes both. He's going to hope to try and do the same thing on this shot. A little wide of his target, not too good a finish on the ball, and hit the 5-pin thinly on the right-hand side. Did it? Yes,
he did. Beautiful performance. A split conversion of the 5-7 by Semiz. Here it is again in slow motion.
Chris, he hit it so thin it almost goes completely in front and missing the pin. There you see it coming back off the wall. Both the neck and the center of the pin catch the 7.
And that has to be encouraging to this man, tournament leader. Spare up shooting in the 7th. Leaving the 2 and the 4 on the left lane.
Chris, in recent years, this man has learned to be a thumb bowler, which is the vogue on the tour today, and the reason for his sore thumb. In these last couple of shots, it has come off of his thumb, but he has gotten no fingers at all. It's a little fast with his release.
And now, Bob Strampe, leading by 12, with a strike up in the 6th. A double for Mr. Strampe.
Right, Chris, and really the take charge point for Strampe. He wanted that strike very badly. They gave him the double.
Bowler of the Year in 1964. Masters champion like Billy Whaley. Bob getting his in 1966. He won the PBA National Championship in 64 and also the All-Star the same year, the National. PBA titles include San Francisco and Detroit.
He's going for Lock City now.
Tito Semiz is finding out about Bob Strampe, who's long been known as a threat wherever he bowls. Spare up, shooting in the 8th. That one just slid by, leaving the 1, 2, the 8, and the 10. We asked Tito about a blister on his right thumb earlier.
Developed a blister Thursday night, the 22nd game. Thursday I came back and I patched it up. And after 3 or 4 shadow balls, the sting was all gone.
In other words, 18 games with that bad thumb. Still came out the #1 man in this tournament. And now he trails by 47 as that big right thumb is set in. Ten-pin on the left lane.
That was his last gap for hope, Chris. He needed a strike there and 3 in the 10th for a 222 game. And had he done that, Bob Strampe would have had to open in the 9th and 10th for him to have a chance. Now Bob can actually open in the 9th and 10th and still win the game and the championship.
So it's a spare for Semiz, as we have Bob Strampe now getting back up. He opened with 4 in a row. A spare in the 5th, now has a 3-bagger working. The 4-7.
Chris, actually, the hidden story on Strampe is that he was the 16th qualifier. He got the last spot in the finals and made 3 strikes in the 10th frame. To do that on Thursday night, then yesterday in match game competition, moved up through the pack from the last spot in the qualifying finals all the way up to the TV finals here today.
So on our professional bowlers tour, which has been somewhat dominated by the younger bowlers, here in the finals today, we have 37-year-old Bob Strampe going against 34-year-old Teata Semiz. So, Billy, maybe it'll be you next week or the other night or the following week.
Well, I'd hope it'd be out there at the Tournament of Champions at Firestone 25,000. I could find a lot of spots for that. I've got to talk to Carter, that fountain of youth that he's found out in the California sunshine. Maybe he can give me a tip or two.
As we mentioned earlier, the winner of this match will get $6,000. That's why this man is smiling. And Teata Semiz, $3,000 as the runner-up. And the 3-pin is covered nicely by Mr. Bob Strampe. He's had 2 games. He beat Therm Davis 224 to 172 with 7 strikes. Next match, he defeated Nelson Burton 249 to 204 with 8 strikes. And now he's going to have a 240-plus game right here. And in 3 games, 23 strikes for the Greater Buffalo Open champion at 246, Boomin' Bob Strampe from Detroit.
Very pleased, and now he relaxes. Take a deep breath, count the money.
Leaving the 7-pin, Teata Semiz from River Edge, New Jersey. We'll be right near his home at the Echo Lanes in Mountainside with our telecast next week of the Ebonite Gold Cup.
Of course, I'm glad you're not catching an early plane so we can watch that Wide World of Sports Championship fight feature today.
Very good. It is Joe Frazier and Big Buster Mathis. Wide World of Sports color coverage of that fight from the new Madison Square Garden, to be followed, of course, by the NCAA Indoor Track and Field Championships live and in color from Cobo Hall in Detroit.
And have a good time in San Francisco at the NBA game.
Should be a thriller, San Francisco and the Knickerbockers. Teata Semiz finishing just as he started with a booming strike and a score of 201. And as you see Bob Strampe with a big 246, the winner by 45 pins. We'll be back in just a minute to meet the Greater Buffalo Open champion.
The big, beautiful cat is here. Mercury Cougar XR7. More luxurious than ever for 68. A cockpit of rich glove-soft leathers and vinyl. Lined with instruments, gauges, toggle switches. All standard in Mercury's royal new Cougar XR7. Pound for pound, dollar for dollar. The best equipped luxury sports car in America. More excitement for 68. Mercury takes the wraps off its newest, lowest-priced luxury car. Mercury Montego combines Cougar excitement with full 6-passenger comfort. Luxury with a fine car touch. Mercury Montego. Lincoln Mercury. Better idea cars from the makers of Lincoln Continental.
We're back again at Fairlanes in Depew, New York. And it's a pleasure to, of course, pat the winner on the back, but I'd also like to boost the man that's the runner-up here, the tournament leader, who ran into Bob Strampe today, and you'll be hearing more of Teata Semiz. And here he is. I'd like to present you with a fine check, too, Tito. Congratulations.
Thanks, Chris.
How's your thumb? How's your thumb look now?
Well, it's not bad. It's just a little blistered, but it's all right. Had no excuse for my bowling, but I'd like to congratulate Bob. He bowled like a tiger today. Can't wait till I meet him again.
Spoken like a champion.
Oh,
so,
yeah, he hit the pocket real good.
As a result, here's a nice check in your name, paid to the order of Teata Semiz, $3,000.
Fruit salad, thank you.
Fruit salad, not bad. We ran down most of the titles that Bob Strampe has won, and in many of them I've had the pleasure of presenting the check to him. And he's always been one that readily takes it. And I'll bet he'll go for it again today. Bob Strampe, the champion here, the Greater Buffalo Open. Bob, before we chat a bit, Mr. Armand Castellani, a sportsman here in Buffalo, is going to present you with a rather awesome trophy. Armand, will you come over a moment?
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, sir.
Great champ, Bob.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Very good. That's the kind of speeches we like, isn't it? Huh?
Short and quick, Chris.
Short and quick. Bob, have you, over the past few weeks, done something differently? Is there a secret to all this? Here you had 2 big games, and the first one wasn't bad either.
Well, Chris, I've had a lot of trouble lately with hand position. As I stated earlier, I've been letting the thumb fall in towards my leg, and as so it's made a real bad release, and I started jerking the ball real bad and everything, and just went out and started practicing a little harder and working on it, and what is it we say, try and learn to trust the shot. But I don't know, I just feel so good about today. I don't know really what to say, except got a lot of help from some people back in Detroit, or I should say Mount Clemens, and I hope I can say the party's on.
Uh-huh. You mean you're going to throw a party?
I would say very definitely, yes.
Well, just to make sure that you, can handle it, you might be able to invite a lot of folks for $6,000. I'd like for you to have that now, give you a little confidence here. Here's a fellow Masters and All-Star champion that is coming in here to congratulate you, Bob, Billy Whaley.
Bob, congratulations on your great victory today. Speak of the Masters Championship, I had the good fortune of winning that just previous years to Bob, and it's a great compliment when a man comes along like this, who's been one of the great players in the game. And the best compliment that I can give Bob is the adjustment that he's made in his release to keep that ball in the track. It was just beautiful to see today.
Thank you very much, Billy.
And you should see the bowlers that are beyond 30 years of age here at the Fairlanes. With 37-year-old Bob Strampe winning, they probably feel now the older fellows are going to take over from those young fellows.
Well, I don't really say we're going to take over. I think before it's all over, youth will prevail, but let's put it this way, the old men are around, right, Don?
That comment, of course, directed to Don Carter, who's here in attendance today. We indicated that you had called home and told your wife to turn on the tube.
Well, I did that last night. I have a place of business back in Detroit, and I hope it's open today.
Well, let's give it a plug. What is it?
All right, the name of it is York Bar. It's in Mount Clemens, Michigan. We haven't changed the name of it due to certain reasons.
Uh-huh.
And that's why I said a few minutes ago the party was on. These people have been real patient. I told them when I first came into the bar that if I ever won a tournament, we'd have a party. So they've been waiting 1 year for this party, so about all I can say is just cut her loose.
Think we can get on the flight to Detroit?
Well, tell everybody in Detroit to drive down there in a Cougar on your Firestone tires and have a Miller High Life. That's all I can tell you.
Well, since we're getting plugs in, next week it's the Ebonite Gold Cup in Mountainside, and we'll see you all there again. Congratulations, Bob Strampe. All right, Billy, see you next week. So, ladies and gentlemen, our next stop on the Professional Bowlers Tour is at Mountainside, New Jersey, and ABC Sports will again be bringing you the final rounds of another great PBA tournament, the $60,000 Ebonite Gold Cup Open Championship. That's 1 week from today. Our thanks to the Professional Bowlers Association, its Executive Director, Eddie Elias, and Fairlanes for their cooperation on today's telecast. Prize monies furnished by the PBA and the Fairlanes. The executive producer of the Professional Bowlers Tour is Rune Arledge. This series is produced by Doug Wilson and directed by Mike Friedman. Associate directors Ed Nadell and Charlie Hines. Technical director Walt Kubelis. And now this is Chris Schenkel along with Billy Whaley saying so long and inviting you to stay tuned for Wide World of Sports. Today you'll be seeing the Joe Frazier, Buster Mathis heavyweight fight and the NCAA Indoor Track and Field Championships over most of these ABC stations. Nationwide air transportation for the Professional Bowlers Tour, arranged in promotional consideration provided by TWA, the all-jet airline. You're up, up, and away, TWA.
With the finest bowlers in the world, you've seen the 9th event of the 1968 PBT Series live and in color, the Greater Buffalo Open, on the Professional Bowlers Tour. This ABC Sports Exclusive was brought to you by your Mercury dealer, home of the Cougar, the Mercury, and the all-new Mercury Montego. Better idea cars from the makers of Lincoln Continental. By the makers of Champion spark plugs used by engine experts the world over.
Knight, makers of the Don Carter Gyro Balance Ball, the ball used by more pros to win more tournaments than any other bowling ball in history.